Hey, MAGA, you remember all that winning you were supposed to do under Donald Trump? And now, with all the tariffs and his crappy economic policies, you guys are losing your health care, losing your social security, losing your benefits, losing your jobs. Well, now you're losing your farms. And the people in Arkansas can tell you they can't even break even, and most of them are going out of business. They're not being farmers anymore. But instead of a bailout, Trump is like, oh, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Because he and JD Vance actually have stock in companies that are buying up that lost farmland when farmers go broke. But you know how you guys always love to claim that Trump loves the farmers and he loves you guys so much, even though in public at rallies he has literally stated to your face that he doesn't care about you? Well, let me tell you something. The biggest crop that we export is soybeans. And now that China's not really buying our soybeans anymore because Trump jacked up tariffs on them, China's now buying them from Argentina, who has since dropped their tariffs on them. So now farmers across the country are being left holding the bag of soybeans that are practically worthless. This is going to have another massive effect on our GDP, by the way. And as all these farmers continue to go bankrupt because of these tariffs that you guys think are going to make you all millionaires, China just found a way to go around us and give us the middle finger. And apparently MAGA stands for Make Argentina Great Again. Meanwhile, our economy's going down the toilet. And you guys have a massive problem with conservatives attacking and shooting your own conservatives. Let me know when you guys are done with the charade and the whole cult bullshit, because this is really fucking embarrassing.
Some of that tariff money that we made, we're going to give it to our farmers, who are, for a little while, going to be hurt until it kicks in. The tariffs kick into their benefit.
How come Republicans only hate socialism when it helps working people? When it's bailouts for farmers or corporations, suddenly they're socialists. Roll the tape.
We're looking at our soybean, corn, wheat, sorghum, cotton farmers who are facing very, very difficult times. We are currently in conversations here at the White House, across the government, on a farmer aid package.
Let's get this straight. Epstein's BFF wrecked trade with his dumbass tariffs, left farmers in crisis, and now they want applause for handing out an aid package. They lit the barn on fire and are bragging about showing up with a bucket of water. And here's the kicker. When we talk about using tax dollars for healthcare, student debt relief, or a social safety net, Republicans scream socialism. But when it's billions in bailout checks for farmers hurt by their own fucking trade war, suddenly it's patriotic, suddenly it's just helping real Americans. Meanwhile, the markets they lost to China aren't coming back. Farmers are losing their land, their equipment, even their lives. And instead of fixing the root cause, the administration hands out checks like hush money. So don't be fooled. This isn't about saving farmers. It's about saving face for politicians who torched American agriculture and now want credit for using your money to cover their disaster.
Trump announced that he wants to bail out the farmers that are losing their farms and going bankrupt from his tariff war by using the revenue generated from the tariffs. You know, the tariffs that every other American is paying. So sounds like socialism to me. Now, all of this is due, or he wants to include it in the omnibus bill due by November 21st. So none of those farmers are actually going to see any of that until at least early 2026. So all those farmers that complain about socialism, say it's bad, vote against their best interests, are going to be clamoring for that good old government money to bail them out yet again. Those farmers aren't going to survive till then. Those farms are going to go bankrupt. They're going to lose their farms. They're going to get bought up by big agricultural conglomerates who will then get the bailout money from the government, who are able to weather the months of not being able to sell any of their commodities to other countries.
So the Trump administration is getting ready to bail out Argentina to the tune of $20 billion. If you are a Republican and you are a Trump supporter, I wish for 1 minute that you would stop listening to the rhetoric coming out of the Trump administration and actually look at the facts. Because even though Trump talks about America first, here he is bailing out Argentina to the tune of $20 billion while the average American suffers, while our prices increase, while we're losing our health care, while they're wanting to raise the age of retirement. We have to stop listening to politicians and what they say and look at actually what they do. We have to allow facts to speak over rhetoric. We have to learn how to do this and to think critically of what's really happening here. And Argentina needs a bailout because they are implementing the same types of policies that Trump supports and is doing here to bring back the so-called golden age, better known as the Gilded Age, where the rich got extremely rich and the workers got their rights stripped away, were paid basically nothing, and we all became wage slaves. And that's what they have done throughout the last 40 plus years under trickle-down economics. They've made us all slaves to wages. And each passing year, the cost of living increases. But yet our standard of living decreases. The purchasing power of our dollar is decimated. And this is what they are bringing. So now Trump is bailing out Argentina with $20 billion of your tax money. They always tell us they never have money for all of the things that benefit the citizens of this country, but somehow we have the money for UFC events at the White House. We have money for ballrooms. We have money for the Rose Garden. We have money to give to Israel at $3.8 billion a year, and we also have money to bail out other nations while the Americans suffer. We need to start focusing on facts over words. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is Grim with Get the Rant. Like, share, follow for more, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Donald Trump just told a ridiculous story about how we supposedly have the most perfect borders in the world. And then he goes one step further and says he's going to give the farmers money off the money he's made off our backs with the tariffs.
But right now we have absolutely perfect borders like you haven't seen in many years. Even better than I had great borders during my 4 years, but these borders are stone cold closed. You can only come into our country legally now. But the Democrats want to give it all away. They want to open up the borders. Take a look at that. Big thing. They want to open borders again. After what we're going through now, getting rid of prisoners, getting rid of all of these people dropped out from mental institutions, drug dealers, drug addicts, everything. They're putting everybody into our country. It's all ended now. But this is what Schumer wants. This is what the Democrats want. They want to have, and they want to take our money. We're doing well because of tariffs. We're doing unbelievable. We're making more money than we ever have made. And by the way, we're going to take some of that tariff money that we made, just to get off the subject for a second. We're going to take some of that tariff money that we made. We're going to give it to our farmers, who are, for a little while, going to be hurt until it kicks in. The tariffs kick into their benefit. So we're going to make sure that our farmers are in great shape because we're taking in a lot of money. We're finding, the other day, it was very interesting, they found $31 billion. They said, sir, we found 31. I said, you mean positively, right? They said, yeah, 31 million more than we knew. And they said, we don't know where it came from. I said, check the tariff shelf. They came back the following morning. They said, you're right, sir, it came from the tariffs. We've never seen anything like this. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking some money from all of the tariff money that we've taken, and we're going to distribute it to our farmers until the tariffs kick into their benefit, which ultimately the farmers are going to be making a fortune. But it's a process of, it has to kick in. All right, maybe one more.
This is highway robbery at its finest, ladies and gentlemen. He's made all this money off the tariffs, off of our backs, and instead of refunding the money back to us, he's giving it to the farmers who he's robbed. Don't you think everybody who has been harmed by those tariffs should be entitled to getting some sort of money, some sort of government handout back from the government? This is another example of Donald Trump patting himself on the back for fixing a problem he created. Once again, he is using us, the American people, to pay for another one of his failed policies, his schemes, all right? And at a certain point, we have to start wondering and asking ourselves, is he really as successful as he likes to say he is? I don't trust any, and I repeat, I don't trust any of the facts, data, or statistics currently coming out about this administration because of what he just said. He's creating problems and then trying to brag and pretend like he's fixing problems. This is sad. This is sick. This is pathetic. And if you ask me, guess what? It's another sign we're heading towards what? A 1929 style depression. One like we've never seen before.
JD Vance is lying again, so let's tackle it head on, shall we? What was the lie exactly? Democrats are about to shut down the government because they demand we fund healthcare for illegal aliens. They really do like to bring out the old chestnuts, don't they? And by that I mean that every time Democrats try to get more funding for healthcare, which is what they're doing right now, Republicans lie and say, oh, that's all going to go to undocumented people. While it's not. The wild thing about this is that finding out the truth is just an easy Google search away. First of all, it's really easy to Google what exactly Democrats did ask for, which is a restoration of health funding for U.S. citizens. Second of all, there are so many government websites that show there are a few small groups of qualified non-citizens who get federal health coverage, but the vast majority don't, and haven't since 1996. They are barred from access to most federal benefits, including federal healthcare programs and assistance, including Medicaid and the Children's Health Insurance Program. They're barred from all of it, and yet they still pay taxes, which is pretty wild when you think about it. There are a couple of exceptions. Undocumented people can access Medicaid when they're in the emergency room, or pregnant women sometimes can, infants and children sometimes can. P.S. I know good Christians like J.D. Vance are trying to take that care away from them too, but they haven't done it yet. Other exception is that states can act alone with only state funding and provide Medicaid to other undocumented people if they want to. 6 states avail themselves of this option, but they don't use a penny of federal money, something J.D. Vance knows damn well. Okay, so we've established that Democrats are not trying to get health care for undocumented people in this stopgap bill. So what are they trying to get? They are asking for a reversal of the $1 trillion in cuts to Medicaid that Trump and the Republicans made in the One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Medicaid for U.S. citizens. But J.D. Vance knows if he tells the truth about that, then people will hate him more than they already do, and that's hard. In sum, are Democrats about to shut down the government because they demand health care for quote-unquote illegal aliens? No. They are asking for Republicans to put back the funding for healthcare that they took away from Americans in order to give the richest people in the country and the biggest corporations massive unspeakable tax cuts. But hey, why tell the truth when you can lie? Especially because Republicans assume Americans are too stupid to know the difference. Hey, Americans, don't be.
Bonjour, my darlings. Happy Friday. Good morning, my darlings. How are you? Okay, we got our cup of coffee. Let's get into it. So can someone tell me how we don't have money for any of our stuff because immigrants, but we're sending money to Argentina because their guy did what our guy's doing and it ruined their economy. So now we're sending them money to bail them out from the same choices that this guy is making right now. So we're also sending endless money to ice cream, which we know, and they're also now talking about taking our money and giving it to the farmers who helped this happen. All right, so there's no bottom. There's no bottom. In fact, enough with the gaslighting. Remember when certain people started doing all those flags, those kids that went to the HBCU, that dentist who bragged about what she did, and now the media is coming out going, well, she was joking, guys. She's getting backlash over a joke. It wasn't a joke. She said, this is what I do. I do this. It wasn't a joke set. She wasn't at open mic night. She was at a conference bragging about this, and here comes the media to go, it was a joke, guys. She was no, she wasn't. No, she wasn't. Those kids who went to the HBCU and tried to start ish and it didn't go their way, they ran to the media to go, well, we didn't know it wasn't HBCU. We didn't know. Yes, they did. All right. After the thing happened and a bunch of people started putting up those color in flags, you know, the blue lines and the red lines, and everyone went, they're just patriotic. They just back the blue. There's nothing wrong with that. Whose sticker has been on their cars? Whose flag was in their yard? Stop it. Okay, stop with it's not like that. Yes, it is. Okay, the same way you keep telling yourselves that these people plan on leaving or that there's a bottom somewhere. This dude accidentally tweeted out a private message about how come you're not going after my personal private enemies. And 3 days later, they're indicting someone for no reason. Their people are accepting you know what. Okay, we've got missing people.
So, Lindsay Halligan. Lindsay Halligan is the insurance lawyer, right? And she's one of the village idiot Donald Trump's personal attorneys, right? And she was one of the dingbats who was involved with trying to protect the village idiot Donald Trump while he was at Mar-a-Lago, when he was indicted before he was even indicted, actually, for stealing classified documents. That was the case that Judge Eileen Cannon eventually let him off of, even though he was clearly fucking did it. We saw the pictures. But anyway, Lindsay Halligan. So in the Eastern District of New York of Virginia, the village idiot Donald Trump had assigned a prosecutor, right? To lead that division. The village idiot decided he didn't like that prosecutor anymore, right? Because that prosecutor refused to indict Jim Comey, because that prosecutor he may have been a Trump nut because he had to be to get appointed in the first place, but he realized the stupidity of the case. He realized as a prosecutor, this is not prosecutable. He's not going to win this fucking case. So he declined to move forward. So the village idiot squawked and hollered and threw a true social tantrum and yelled at Pam Bondi, which looked like a text that wound up being a Truth Social post. It's got to start prosecuting. We look dumb. You better do it. You better get them prosecuted. You better get them prosecuted. And he fired the guy that he initially hired, and he put this half-wit, Lindsay Halligan, into the job, the insurance attorney. Well, the insurance attorney then took, a week, 2 weeks maybe, to indict James Comey. And, for basically lying, in a Senate hearing with Ted Cruz and some sort of obstruction. If it's hard to understand what the charges are, it's because I've read several articles now about the charges themselves, and I still have a difficult time making sense of it. So I'm not even going to bother to try to explain it. Listen to the talking heads on cable news. They'll do a better job than I will. But it would be funny if on the charging document, on Lindsay Halligan's charging document, in a very unusual move, she was the only one to sign the document. Usually that's not signed by the boss in cases like this. It's usually signed by, line prosecutors in the office, the people who will prosecute the case, but it doesn't look like there are any of them. So it would be really funny. I would love it if the insurance lawyer became the one to prosecute this case. And there's another weird thing that I don't understand. Halligan is now in charge of the Eastern District Office for the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District, but this is being prosecuted in the Western District for some reason. But, I'm sure there's probably some reason for that. But, I'm not. I mean, it sucks that Comey has to go through this. It's stupid. I mean, Comey is no great American hero. But this is, obviously an obstruction of justice in the fact that they're just doing this because the village idiot wants to do it. I would be stunned if the case doesn't get thrown out of court before it goes anywhere. Comey will not be indicted, will not be convicted. He will not go to jail. And I wonder if this is another thing that's going to backfire on the village idiot because he's so self-destructive. And if this actually resurrects, Comey is the left doesn't like him, the right doesn't like him, nobody likes him, but yet this could turn him into a living martyr. And I wouldn't be surprised if in the 2028 presidential election, his whole image is rehabilitated and the guy runs for Congress or something.
Well. Sinclair Broadcasting still wants a piece of the Kimmel pie. Huh. See, this is why, despite the fact that fascism and capitalism really go hand in hand most of the time, because they really just support one another in such a synergistic way, it's worth remembering that while many of them are fascists first, most of them are actually capitalists first. And just like we're stuck in this system with them, they're stuck in here with us too. The story is breaking and still developing, so we don't know all the details of the supposed negotiations that Sinclair Broadcasting was undergoing with ABC in recent days that made them come slinking back. But man, do I love that they didn't have the foresight to come back before Tuesday, when Kimmel's return netted him the, quote, biggest ratings haul in a decade. A ratings haul that they missed out on completely. And that's not even counting the views online. And as some of you may have noticed, I am in fact choosing to quote The Hill on this because they are owned by Nexstar, the other broadcaster that's currently refusing to show Kimmel on their affiliate stations. How's it going, Nexstar?
You got ratings in there?
I guess we'll see what these negotiations entailed and if, in fact, Disney or ABC or Kimmel agreed to anything unfortunate. But I'm willing to bet that the efforts to call Sinclair advertisers and the boycotts and the ratings on Tuesday showed the true power of the people. Never forget that their systems, as terrible, harmful, and exploitation-based as they may be, by definition, require us to run.
The rumor mill's going wild about what Pete Hegseth is doing with hundreds of military generals at Marine Corps Base Quantico, and the truth is, nobody actually knows, except for Pete Hegseth and a few people at the Pentagon that haven't actually leaked it yet. We've heard that he's going to fire a bunch of generals. We've heard that he's going to play some sort of top general Squid Games. We've heard even from some people that say he's going to require an oath of loyalty from them, and others say it's just going to be a rah-rah, let's get behind old Hegseth whole motivational speaking thing. All I can tell you is that last one, I can't imagine taking motivational speaking from Pete Hegseth. What I do think is that the Pentagon has been talking about reducing the number of generals since about March or April, that they want to revamp what the General Corps and Admiral Corps looks like in the United States military. Now, are they going to bring these people in because they're the ones that support the president the most and Pete Hegseth the most, or are they bringing in the ones that don't support him? And that's going to be the answer to what's going to happen. If they're the ones that maybe have come out publicly to subordinates and said that they don't agree with what's going on, they're likely to be the ones getting fired. If they're the ones that have come out and publicly supported them, it's likely to be some motivational rah-rah fest, and that's it. But either way, Pete Hegseth pulling hundreds of generals to Quantico and publicly letting that knowledge get out there because WikiLeaks, that's what he does best. Well, guess what? That by itself is a risk. That right there puts all of these generals at risk. That right there puts the United States military at risk. Once again, at the hands of old Pete Hegseth. So what happens one way or another? He is currently putting the U.S. military at risk just by being in the position that he's in. The Secretary of Defense, by the way, not war.
We need to stop telling all the kids they have to go to college to be successful. Not everyone's meant for college. Let's start teaching trades in high school as they graduate certificate and they need to... All right, I like this comment. I like this comment a lot, and I don't think we talk about it enough. Here's the way I would address this kind of comment. I don't like the idea of telling any kid where they need to go, that they don't need to go to college, that they should go in the trades. Here's what we need to start doing. We need to start talking about education holistically. So, university, college, trade school, whatever you're talking about, the more education a student can have, a person can have, the better off their life will be, the more well-rounded they will be. Now, I don't want to say I'm not going to push education, because I am. I'm a teacher. I have to. What I am going to say is this. I'm also not going to negate a path, force a student down a path, or undermine a path. And that includes university and college education. Okay, I'm beside myself when I hear people say things like, nobody needs college. You don't need to go to university. What a waste of time and money. What? Don't do that. Don't do that. All education is good education. I think it stands to reason that you want to make sure that you're economically viable to go. In Ontario, we are very lucky because tuition isn't high. Moving away to go to college or school or anything, that is where a lot of cost is incurred. I think we need to start talking about being responsible when it comes to the money portion, but in Ontario, you can be. I think when people talk about putting trades back in the schools, they took them all out. They took them all out because they cost too much money. They took them all out because they didn't want to diversify in high school. They took them all out because they wanted to push that learning outside the public system and onto the private system. Therein lies the problem. You want to know why we're not pushing trades anymore? Because the government decided that tech wings were too much money. They took them out of schools under the pretense that everybody should go to university. No. The reason why they did that is because they know that kids that want to go into the trades, they can go apprentice and get out of school, and it's not the Ontario government's job. Well, you want to pressure the Ontario government? Do so there. You want to say you want trades back in the schools so kids can get an actual diversity of learning? Pressure the government there. But let's not, in any way, shape, or form, devalue any level of education, right? I would also say this. A kid wants to be a welder? Amazing. Take business courses. You want to go into the trades? Incredible. Make sure you understand economics. Make sure you understand taxes. Make sure you take courses that allows you to own what you do. Don't negate all that academic learning because you like the trades. Do both. And for those kids that are purely academic, try to pick up a hammer every once in a while. Figure out what the trades are like. Because if you're constantly having to push this to everybody else because you've never learned how to do anything yourself, it's going to cost you time, it's going to cost you money. Don't do it. We want to create more well-rounded students in the future. We better start promoting all levels of education in every single form. If we do that, we will get smarter, we will progress quicker, we will have more innovation. If we don't do that, we're going to be left behind as the world takes us over. I also want to point this out. Let's be sure to understand that education is sometimes and often struggle. It doesn't mean you drop out. It doesn't mean you quit. It means you try harder. It means we find more resources to help more people become successful in all types of education. And if you're not willing to do that and you just want the easy path, you're the problem. And if you have a parent that's trying to pad all of the sharp edges, again, you're not doing your kid any justice. Don't let them drop something because it's hard. Figure out how to work through it better. Don't let them not become educated in any way, shape, or form because they don't want to sit in school anymore. Find out new and interesting ways to inspire, engage, and educate. And I am telling you, there'll be no stopping them.
We have a bombshell update about the Jeffrey Epstein files released to the public, and we now know of some new names that have been associated or may have been associated with Jeffrey Epstein, starting with Elon Musk. In addition, moving to Peter Thiel and also Steve Bannon. Yes, this is serious. All three names pop up in documents received by the House Oversight Committee from Jeffrey Epstein's estate, and these documents are now being made public. Earlier this week, the House Oversight Committee received a third tranche of documents from the Epstein estate. This is not coming from the Department of Justice. This is not coming from the Trump administration. This is coming from Jeffrey Epstein's estate. The estate previously sent over the 50th birthday book confirming the existence of a purported letter written by Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein for his 50th birthday, and we now have more information about what is in these third tranche of documents. His daily schedule was part of the documents that were just released to the public, and the daily schedule shows meetings between Jeffrey Epstein and Steve Bannon, Peter Thiel, and along with a potential visit to Epstein's Island for Elon Musk. Prince Andrew is also listed as a passenger on Epstein's jet. So let's break down these four images from Epstein's schedule. The first is from Monday, November 27th, 2017. It shows he has an 8 a.m. breakfast with a man named Reed Weingarten, then a noon lunch with Peter Thiel, who is a tech billionaire, very close with Donald Trump and really helped Donald Trump win the 2024 election. It then shows that he had a dinner and award ceremony at Cipriani in Wall Street in New York. And the second from Jeffrey Epstein's schedule is a note from February 16th, 2019, in which it shows he has a 7 a.m. breakfast with Steve Bannon, who's Donald Trump's former senior advisor, a far-right political commentator, someone who actually speaks with the president regularly. And then another 9 a.m. breakfast with Reed Weingarten once again. Then the third entry in the schedule that was just released shows from Friday, December 5th, 2014, a tentative breakfast party with billionaire Bill Gates, invited Ron Barron and Josh Harris, awaiting reply. That's a TBD tentative. Then a Saturday, December 6th, 2014 entry showing reminder Gregory Riches on holiday in Aruba from December 6th through 13th. And then reminder Elon Musk to Island December 6th. And then in parentheses, is this still happening? That shows that Elon Musk may have been visiting Epstein's Island. What we don't know is whether or not Musk actually went on that trip. Musk has not publicly commented one way or the other over whether or not he ever went to Epstein's Island. And then the fourth document released to the public today is a passenger manifest from Hyperion Air Incorporated, which shows essentially a manifest of passengers on one trip taken by Jeffrey Epstein on May 12, 2000 from the island to West Palm Beach. They left at 9:30 a.m., arrived around 11:42 a.m., and the individuals on the plane include Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell, a bodyguard, and Prince Andrew, who has been embroiled in this Epstein story given his close relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. So that's right now essentially what we know from this new tranche of files that were just released to the public. It comes at a very interesting time for members of Congress. We are less than 5 days away from a possible government shutdown that could lead to one of the largest mass firings that we have ever seen in the federal government. That is what the Trump administration is threatening to do. Yet at the same time, the push to release the Epstein files is growing, kind of like a slow locomotive, essentially. Essentially, every day, every week, we're seeing a slow, steady drip to get to the point where we can force the release of the Epstein files. Right now, there is a discharge petition in the House of Representatives. It has 217 signatures. I expect it to get to 218 signatures, which is what it needs, the goal for Republicans and Democrats, sometime the week of October 6th. So not this coming week, but the following week. During that week, Adelita Grijalva, who's the Congresswoman-elect for Arizona's 7th Congressional District, will be sworn into office, at which time she will sign this discharge petition, get it to 218 signatures, and then it'll start a process over the next 10 days afterwards where it'll force the full House of Representatives and Speaker Mike Johnson to vote on whether or not to demand the release of the Epstein files from the Department of Justice. Now, just because that happens doesn't mean that that's it. That doesn't mean that the House of Representatives has to do anything. In fact, it will then go to the United States Senate under regular order. And then because the Senate Republicans have the majority, it'll be up to Majority Leader John Thune to decide when and how to present this discharge petition, this vote, to the Senate floor. It will then have to pass the Senate, then go to the White House for Donald Trump to sign. He will almost certainly not sign it. But here's the thing. It puts significant pressure on members of Congress, especially Republican members of Congress, to vote on this. Republicans have long campaigned on the idea that they should release the Epstein files, the entire Epstein files, to the American public. Because right now, this isn't about Donald Trump. This is about a highly influential network of individuals associated with a man convicted of sex offender-related crimes, and a woman in Ghislaine Maxwell convicted of sex trafficking and other serious crimes. And Epstein would have been convicted of more federal charges, but he died awaiting trial in prison. And so it's about getting justice for survivors. It's about getting answers for these survivors. And right now, where we're at, truly, is we're going to see this consistent, slow drip of information coming out of the House Oversight Committee as it gets more Epstein-related documents. It's not going to be an overnight thing, but we are learning new information with each release. And today's release, we learned that Elon Musk was somehow potentially connected to Epstein based on that document, which showed that he could possibly be going to the island. In addition, we saw that Steve Bannon could be possibly connected to Jeffrey Epstein because they had breakfast, allegedly, according to the schedule. We're learning more information as it comes out. And when we get responses from folks like Bannon, from folks like Musk, you better believe that I will let you know first and foremost, because the public, truthfully, deserves answers. Whether you're a Republican or a Democrat associated with Jeffrey Epstein, you need to answer to the public. Because right now, this truly is one of the biggest and most important issues of our time. And as a reporter, I'll never let it go away. I will always keep it front and center. So stay tuned, subscribe to support, and I'll see you soon. Hey folks, Aaron Parnas here. Thank you so much for watching The Parnas Perspective. Please consider subscribing to support our work as we grow this independent news media entity into something that rivals mainstream every single day. Thanks so much, and I'll see you soon.